Rock and roll.
Rock and roll McDonald's. Haven't heard that one? Wesley Willis.
Uh-uh.
All right, we're directing to YouTube. I think we're officially live.
Okay.
So welcome anyone who's not here yet to the Prepper Trifecta. Last time we waited a few minutes. I think it was a good move because for a few weeks we would just launch right into it when there was no one here, and so then we'd have to rehash for a few minutes. So I think we got up to about 30 or 40 before we really kicked it off. So that'll be my plan this time too. I think we already got five people.
Nice.
So that's good. Hey there, Donna Hoffman and 762. We always get a few recognizable names in the beginning, so it's good to see you guys as always. So start thinking about stuff that you want to ask us or Morgan.
These hardcore regular fans. You must have some regular fans, Morgan. People that are just like love whatever you do.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we all have our regulars, and
that's good.
And then I have lurkers. We all have lurkers.
I don't know if I have lurkers. I think my lurkers actually just always say shit to me. But I definitely think the females and the women get way more like lurkers and orbiters and weird people than the guys do. Just a hunch. Because I remember talking to or not necessarily talking to, but Prepper Princess had said something about all the like crazy trolls and everything. And I'm like, I know she has more subscribers than I do by like double or triple, but I was like, I don't get like any of these like hardcore trolls. Maybe my time has just not come yet, but I was like, or maybe it's just the women get way more weirdos, which would not surprise me at all.
Honestly, I think women get a lot more weirdos. I get a lot of weirdos too. Like Prepper Princess, I see some of her posts.
Yeah.
Like about these trolls, and I'm like, I can relate, girl.
Like
you know,
asking for feet pics and stuff. I don't get any of those. What's wrong with my feet?
I feel like sky feet, girl.
Yeah. I'd be rich if they did. All those. So yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome. We got BRG is back. So, you know, honestly too, seeing all these every once in a while I get a hint of like, why do these people always come back to see little old me? You know what I mean? Like
I get that feeling too.
But it does make me feel good. I appreciate everybody's viewership. Hopefully we at least give some entertainment, if not actual value. So I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Start thinking about what kind of BRG says he's a Morgan weirdo. So we got one right here that admits it.
Yep.
At one time I kind of was myself. I just kept making fun of you for Han, like constantly.
I thought you were a troll for a really
long
time. Stop talking about Han.
Oh my God, good stuff. See, so maybe they're not all bad. Maybe some of them have hearts of gold.
Something. Yeah.
Cool.
No.
Oh, okay. So Evil Blonde has now changed her name to Destiny officially on here. So, but she outed herself.
Yep.
So we'll know. So we'll know that it's the same trolling. So welcome everybody once again. So speaking of shortages, BRG says TP is already gone in New York, and Destiny, aka Eva Blonde, has the same question I did, which I asked beforehand, was did you get a deer, Che? What happened?
Put me on the spot. Talk about no, I didn't. I got euchred this year. Walked up to a bear. He scurried off pretty quick. And I was telling Eric before the show started, I always have, like I walked up to a moose last year. Didn't have the moose tag. I always seem to bump into animals that I don't have the tags for. And even a few years back, I had a moose in her calf and had the rifle right on her. I just couldn't pull the trigger, and I had a moose tag, but the season ended like 3 days before. So I guess maybe I'm just too ethical when it comes to hunting, but nothing this year.
How many game wardens are really wandering out there in the Canadian backwoods?
You can get away with it. There's so much lands, 80%.
I've heard I was just gonna say, I heard they really ream you though if they do catch you, like serious.
Oh, you're screwed. But you know what? There's a good 10% of the population of hunters that they're idiots. They drink a few beers too many the night before. They're shooting out the side of the road, out of their cars, things of this accord. So that's going to keep them preoccupied enough. If you're low key, and there's a few guys there. Well, we'll get into that off the air.
Yeah.
But I'm going to Manitoulin Island, and their season starts tomorrow. There's different sections that have different. They're called WMUs up here, Wildlife Management Units. So the deer season in a different part of Ontario starts tomorrow. So I might go out to Manitoulin Island for a couple of days. We'll see what happens. Congratulations to Donna Hoffman Che. My daughter got her deer yesterday. So everybody else seems to have a lot of success.
Yeah,
Different
speaking of
forums on Facebook. Yeah.
the weird rednecks, I had a buddy who said he was asking somebody who he knew one time, like how his hunting went over the weekend or whatever. And the guy was like, oh, nothing, just had a couple sound shots and that's it. And he was like, what the hell is that? And it was basically like he heard something rustling in the bushes and just shot at it. And he's just
Oh,
like,
really?
fuck? He's like, that could have been a person. Like, Jesus. He was
That's
like,
crazy.
what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's true though, you know, and my mother's terrified when I go out and, you know,
Yeah.
what are you going to do if you come up to a bear or whatever? And ironically, I did walk up to a bear and he scurried off. But I used to be scared of mountain lions out in the woods because I go like deep in with just a small pack.
And they're quiet.
And mountain lions are scary. They're like 120-pound ninjas that are just ready to jump on you. And you know, but I think I'm more scared of hunters. To be honest, because you know, some of these guys they're potentially reckless, you know. So and they've got a firearm.
Every year there's always some sort of accident from another hunter shooting another hunter. It's like I was in blaze orange from head to toe and I was still shot. It's like I thought you were a deer. Really?
Yeah. They never actually get the deer, so maybe it'd just be better to dress up like a deer. And then they didn't miss you every time or never see you.
Maybe, yeah. But I was actually thinking too, if I got one and I was carrying it back, you know, I don't exactly have fair white skin, then I'm carrying a deer.
Yeah, exactly.
Parts of a deer.
It looks like a deer just like walking through.
Yeah, I mean, there's plausible deniability. They say, "Oh, he's a brown guy," and you know, there's deer that he's holding. So,
well, you know, that's interesting because like a dark prepper mindset type video. What if there was someone who was just a sociopath and wanted to go off and kill someone? A hunting accident would probably be an easy thing to explain. Let's go off in the woods and blast somebody, and then be like, "Oh, whoops! Sure I thought it was a deer."
Yeah. We did that with I think it was one of these shows, like Unsolved Mysteries or something like that. Oh, maybe it wasn't that one, because that's usually where the mystery isn't solved. So one of these shows back in the 90s where a wife-husband team went out, you know, hunting after months and months and months of clear disputes or obvious signs that was going into divorce, and she shot him and got away with it. And it was a hunting accident. So,
yes.
You know, this also brings up a good
ideas here, but
a good point from a prepping perspective. Is something that I've talked about, and I think you have too, Morgan, potentially all three of us, is how there's a lot of people out there that think that after some sort of massive shit hit the fan or shortage situation, they're going to go out and we'll just hunt. We'll just do what we need to in the woods. So, like, if we're talking about this as being a risk now, where you can get shot or the game being chased away by idiots, just imagine what it would be like if a vast majority of the population, or a huge minority of it anyways, thought that they could do this for food. There'd be a bunch of desperate, much more desperate idiots running out in the woods, shooting at whatever moved, shooting at people, scaring the game away. I really don't see that as being, unless you are in a very remote area, I don't see hunting as being something you should rely on. It's always going to be an option, but I don't think it should be something, I don't need to store food, I'll just go hunting kind of thing.
Yeah. I think the majority of people, like you were saying, are just going to scare them away.
Right.
I mean, I think most people just won't know what the heck they're doing. And so they're just going to scare them all away. And that's pretty much going to be the majority of it. But
it would be people who've never hunted before, just stomping around in the woods and stuff.
Right.
So
the difference too between somebody that is hunting out of sport, you know, I didn't get anything this past week, and I might get something next weekend. And hunting from a place or perspective of I need to feed my family, and you're competing with, you know, a lot of hunters that don't go out every single year, in addition to happy firearm people in general that are just hunting. You know. Plus, we get into the unethical thing. If I wanted to kill something, I could have a deer tomorrow morning. I like 100%. I know exactly where to go, and I know exactly what sort of malicious traps to set up.
Bait them or whatever, and other things that aren't legal.
No, there's different spots where I know you can't legally hunt there, and I would set up all sorts of like snares and things like that and trap them. So all this unethical stuff would come out forward too, I think, with the general population trying to catch something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So you'd be wandering around the woods, getting stuck in other people's traps and everything else, and getting shot at. Just a mess.
Is there much, Morgan? I'm sorry, I forget where you're from again. You're out in.
Yeah, right now I'm in Arizona.
Oh, that's right. I guess not much hunting out there, really. For
Yep, there's a ton in Indian.
really, what type of animal? Because I'm just seeing like deserts. That's all that comes to my mind. I'm Canadian.
Yeah, it's a lot of people think of desert and they think there's just nothing out here, but actually there's quite a thriving ecosystem out here, and there's hogs, there's jackrabbits, there's deer, huge deer actually.
Really?
There's bear, there's mountain lion, there's cougars, there's coyotes, tons of coyotes, and I feel like I'm missing something. A lot of birds. I always eat birds. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's actually a ton of stuff you could eat out here. Yeah, and I see it every day.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. There's not too much out here in the Vegas Valley, but even here, there's still some. It's like wild burros, even some places, like the donkeys.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us, we have a special guest, Morgan from Rogue Preparedness. How can people find you, Morgan, if they wish to? And
yeah, thanks for having me. Really
awesome.
love being here. So yeah, just Rogue Preparedness, just everywhere. That's how you can find me. You just search on it almost anywhere and I'll be there.
Do you have anything up and coming? Anything up and coming in the works in terms of your channel or anything of that accord on your sites? Anything specific to a product review or?
Yeah, I have some product reviews coming up. I have a bulletproof vest coming up, and a first aid kit, and just some general overall preparedness topics and things, and canning videos, and homestead videos, and a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, a lot of stuff on the website too. So, but I've been kind of scaling back on videos lately, just because I'm trying to focus more on the website side of things. But yeah,
you were a machine for a while. They're making like one video a day for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
it was wild. I'm out here like putting out maybe 1 or 2 a month, other than these live streams. I've been slacking hard. Ugh.
It was a little draining, especially with the homestead. Getting a homestead up from scratch is a lot of time and work effort.
Yeah, you got a couple kids and everything too. So it's wild. I'm impressed. I can't do it.
It's okay.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
Shay, did you see any Wolverines?
Wolverine. Sorry, I missed. What do you mean?
Destiny said, "Did you see any Wolverines while you were hunting?"
She's asking. No, I didn't. Thanks, Destiny. I just got used to calling her Evil Blonde.
Right.
I was more. What is Carl Wester's asking if I wear eyeliner? I don't know what the fuck's going on there. No.
Well, it's starting. We're getting our trolls now. Instead of feet.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's already started.
Yeah. No Wolverines. No, just a bear. Lots of signs of moose, and it's for people out there that maybe not are into hunting, it's a good skill to have. It's just even just getting out there and turning off my phone for a few days and disconnecting. It's that in and of itself is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Very therapeutic. I look forward to it. A lot of great exercise, fresh air, beautiful country. So, what about out in just out of curiosity with hunting in Las Vegas? Is there anything outside in the outskirts of LA, LV, I guess you call it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, as much as I'd like to, have never been really a hunter beyond like small game, like squirrels and stuff. But I do know that Nevada in particular does have some hunting for like bighorn sheep and rams and stuff. But beyond that, or maybe you could go after like coyotes and stuff like that are out here. But there's not a whole lot of there's obviously no deer or anything. But yeah, there's some sheep and everything that people will hunt. But I think that's much farther north of here.
Cool.
The mountains.
Yeah, so I'm in southern Nevada, like right in the corner there.
Me and Eric, I gotta stare at his ugly mug every week. So I guess that's why I'm so excited you're here with us this week. We've been bashing out this whole Trump thing back and forth, beating a dead horse. I know what Eric we'll get his opinion after if he wants to share if his opinion's changed in the last week. But what do you think is going to happen? We got this guy. He's in power. Eric provided some evidence to suggest that there's some fraudulence involved. He's not going to concede. I did my own research. We can talk about after that. There's definitely fraud. There were definitely instances of fraud. How widespread, to what degree, I'm not sure. But in your wisdom, in your opinion, what do you think is going to happen? It's almost like a stalemate situation, I think, in some respects.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually had a similar situation like this before, and where a winner was declared by the media, and then it was Gore, I think, and he was declared the winner, and then everything was finally counted and it turned, and so I think that I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but oh my goodness, like it seems like one of those things that's just like one thing keeps stacking up after another. And I've actually seen videos that look like very fraudulent, activity. And right now there's so many mail-in ballots and there's so much opportunity for fraud. And so unfortunately, because there's a human aspect to it, it's not going to a computer and pressing a button kind of thing. There's so much human involvement in it, and with human involvement there's human emotions, and oh gosh, I've seen 100 people voting for Trump already, and I'm getting tired of this, and I need some, I'm going to throw some votes out. I don't know if that's actually what's happening, but I've seen a couple of videos that look very emotional like that, where people filling in ballots, and they're just trying to claim, well, I'm fixing it. You're not supposed to touch ballots at all, period, besides opening it and processing it. That's it. And so, it's not really, our place to fix stuff for other people. So, I think that there's a lot going on, and Trump has kind of made it very clear that he, really wants at least recounts or, something to happen to make sure that this was, all legit. And I don't really blame him, to be quite honest. And this has happened before. We've had recounts before. This isn't like some new, wild idea. Recounts, what's that? We've had recounts before. And so, I don't really see, I don't care what side it is. Like if Biden was saying the same thing, if he was like, oh, there's fraud, I would say the exact same thing. I think that either side, if they think that there is fraud, that there should be legit recounts in those places that they feel were fraudulent. And so, it's kind of only fair. And so it's going to take a little bit of extra time to find, who the next president's going to be. But I think that that's, there's nothing wrong with that. So
not sure if you caught last week's episode. Eric had this fantastic chart showing it, I think it was 4 a.m., where there's this huge spike with the Democratic votes in certain states. If it ends up that there's a recount, and let's just say we go down this magical path that Trump should have been reelected, how do you think the Democrats are going to react? How Black Lives Matter, Antifa, they're doing crazy shit now. Now to think that the shock to their psychology. Eric, jump in if you want, by all means, if you want to add to that, or
so it's a
Morgan answer.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because they said, unless Biden wins, we're going to go crazy or whatever, but they're going crazy no matter what. They don't need a reason. They just are going to do it. And so I don't think that it really matters at this point. They're already doing what they're doing. These people said, Biden better be the next president. Otherwise we're doing this. Well, from all accounts, it looks like Biden might be the next president, and you're still going crazy. Like you couldn't contain yourself. You just needed a reason, this is contested. I gotta go right, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm really confused what people are rioting on and for what reasons. And, the Trump rallies are still going on and things. And it's like, it's so much going on that there's just so much chaos that's being caused by it. So I don't know. I don't think that it's going to stop, quite frankly.
Yeah, I don't need, and like we've said, I think on the past few of these before the election, that we couldn't really envision a scenario where there wouldn't be any sort of civil unrest. Like it was going to happen regardless. And I think we're now approaching, if it does, like I am still thinking that things plan out or the way I think that they will, and Trump actually is still president in like January 21st or whatever after inauguration, then that's literally the worst case scenario for in terms of civil unrest. Because think about how they feel now, and the media is not covering anything, any of the goings-ons about uncovering any possible fraud. They're just poo-pooing it all away, saying that he's sitting in the corner having a tantrum. Well, there's some legitimate evidence coming out of at least some shenanigans, regardless of whether that turns the election or not, but they're not covering any of it. So if it gets to the point where it gets to a Supreme Court case or something happens to where all of a sudden he is the president, that's just the first thing most normies are gonna hear about this. You know what I mean? Is that everything was going fine. All of a sudden, nope, Supreme Court says Trump's the president. And they're going to think that he stole it. They're going to say, oh, look, he packed the court with his people, 3 justices, and this was the deal all along that they were just going to make. So that's the first thing they're not going to hear about, the statistics that basically prove that there was fraud. You know, the ways that we know places like Russia and Venezuela don't run fair elections. That's the type of things exactly that are popping up here. They're not going to hear about the Dominion software servers in Venezuela and stuff like that. Yeah. So the only thing they're going to hear is say, wait a second, why is Trump still president? And then the news is going to say, oh, because he stole the election with his, Supreme Court justice. And then it's really going to pop off, I think, in a way that I don't know if a lot of people would be ready for. And that's kind of why we're seeing that combined with the new COVID lockdowns is, I think, why we're starting to see some of these shortages pop up.
Almost like a master plan through, some sort of secret simulation that the Chinese government played out a million times before. They let up and they want civil war. I've never seen a country so divided with two sides that are so much conviction and so much passion with how they feel. And conversely, too, Morgan, perhaps you can answer this. If it goes down the lineage where Trump doesn't get reelected, or it just the Supreme Court, the courts say no, these court cases and lawsuits that he's pushing forward, that all get shut down. Biden comes into power. We do have a handful of people on the right that are they're pretty fucking crazy. I've met a few. So, in your opinion, do you think there may be sort of a reaction from the other side in terms of, I don't know, provoking blank canvas? What do you think could happen?
I don't know. I think there's going to be reactions no matter what. The problem is, like Eric is saying, they're setting this up. I'm cold, so they're setting this up for, for Biden. Biden is winning, and so everybody's saying, no, Biden has won, just accept it. And so now, if it does turn around and Trump does win, I think that there's going to be, a lot of craziness. So, but if Biden really is our next president, I think that there's also going to be a lot, but if he's the next president, but there was no recount and there was nothing, there was just nothing done to, make sure that this was a legit election or whatever, I think that there's going to be definitely some stress.
Bitterness, maybe.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of flowing emotions across the streets. And so, it's going to be a little tense for a little bit, but I think it's going to be tense no matter what, no matter who wins.
So why do you guys think that we're starting to see a resurgence in shortages right now? And is that happening in your areas, first of all? And do you think that's exclusively related to Corona, or is people anticipating some of the stuff that we're talking about?
I know that I've heard both. I've heard that some people are worried about the lockdowns, and then I've heard, more lockdowns, and then I've heard I'm worried about the elections. I've heard it from both. And so, I've definitely seen some shortages in my area, and it's been like a lot of canned foods, flour, again, a lot of very familiar items. And what's interesting,
paper.
Yeah, toilet paper. That's been another very common thing that people have been saying. And so I haven't seen that shortage here yet, but I'm any day now. Water has actually been pretty short here. But the what's interesting of what Walmart seems to be doing, and I've heard this from a couple of other people, there's a shortage of an item, but they're filling the empty shelves with stuff. And so I don't know.
So it doesn't look like a shortage, it's just other things.
Exactly. Yes.
That's interesting.
And so the other day I really noticed it. There was like a whole bunch of sugar. And I was like, I wasn't looking for flour, but I just kind of look around or whatever. And so I was like, where's the flour? It was a whole bunch of sugar and then like a whole bunch of random stuff. And then flour, this little bitty flour section. I'm like, that's weird. And so then I heard it from somebody else. They were like, where there was used to be toilet paper was filled with a whole bunch of Christmas stuff. And so
maybe you could use one of those like garlands and just scour down there with that. How about your area, Che? Have you heard of or noticed anything starting to disappear?
Yeah, I have. I have the shell. They're supermarkets up here are coming back with the signs that say, okay, limit to 2 products per person or what have you. People are afraid. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. And this picture of a dark winter is, we've got I don't know if you guys recently changed the clocks back. There's a low vitamin D, vitamin from the sun. I don't know if you've heard of seasonal affective disorder, SAD, which is, it's a very real thing. So I think that coupled with the isolation, coupled with what you guys are going through there's people are just sort of, they're afraid for what potentially could happen over the winter holidays. And, with Thanksgiving coming up for you guys and the Christmas holidays, there's a lot of people that are saying, fuck it.
Yeah.
It's
good.
We're talking about the biggest gathering of, for the whole year. So that could potentially turn into other regulations and policies and the hammer coming down, so to speak, from a legal perspective, if COVID numbers go up. So, but food shortages, yeah, like, anybody watching this, you're preaching. You don't have to tell us about food shortages because you're preaching to the choir here. We've been talking about this stuff for years,
right.
And most of the populations are just sort of getting on board. It's funny. I don't know I'm sure both of you have met real preppers in real life. My situation's unique in some respects in that I got a network here in Ontario and I teach people, blah, 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 blah. And I was at the cannery a couple of weeks ago, and just the surplus of new preppers in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, it's skyrocketing. And I'm meeting these people in real life and having these half-an-hour conversations with them, saying, "Wow, it's like they're waking up to preparedness, and everything's like slamming together so quickly, so fast. So it's scary for them, but at the same time, it's a lot of people, more and more people are coming awake to the idea, and
yeah, I had something.
It's sad that
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Okay.
No,
I had somebody come to me.
Your show.
I had somebody come to me the other day, and she's brand new, and she's only been prepping like a month or two, a few months maybe, I think. And she was telling me, she's like, I'm so angry because I really wish I had been prepping like a lot sooner. I'm like, I get it. Like, it's very frustrating once you finally, find this thing that's like so helpful to your life, right? It's like, how have I gone my whole life without this thing? But I just have to tell people, look, just chill. You're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep on the path. I mean, that's all you can do.
Yes, that's all you can do. It's not that I feel bad. It's for some people, you can see the anxiety and the rush in their eyes, in their reactions. When you communicate with them, it's like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. And I try to tell them, don't get stuck into armchair mode. And even for people watching this, because I know there's new members here. I know through some of the names that have joined my network, ironically, in the last 2-3 months, don't get stuck in armchair prepper mode, which is you're sitting in a fucking chair and you're watching YouTube videos, and 90%, 99% of what you equate to as prepping is watching videos. You can't. You have to get out there. You have to learn tangible skills. There's a prepper channel that's got some entertainment value behind it with how he or she presents themselves. Great. But if it's some idiot, we'll call him paranoid mind, that is just rambling and fear mongering, you have to ask yourself, what is this doing to my psychological health? Preparedness is about embracing all different areas of knowledge, water, food, fire, shelter, and just, be healthy about it. Be smart. Take a deep breath. You don't need to live in fear.
Yeah, and I think people get stuck in, and this goes for pretty much any pursuit, whether that's like nutrition or weight loss, fitness, finances, prepping, where they get stuck in information gathering mode. And the more you get stuck in trying to soak up all information, the more you start focusing on like these weird little details. Like for example, if you were researching firearms, you'd be like, oh, is 223 better than 762, whatever. Like, do these type of details that people argue about in the forums deep into these niches really matter when you're just getting started, or even at all for that matter? But no. And most of the time, if you've spent even a few days or certainly a few weeks gathering information, if you said, okay, stop, what would you tell someone right now based on the information that you have, like what you should probably, and they'd be like, oh, they'd probably come up with a pretty good approximation of what a decent plan would be, like for fitness, like for nutrition, for anything. So don't get stuck in that information mode and be so worried about making the perfect decisions that you don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you just need to start. You just need to
Right.
go buy that can. You just need to go take that walk. You just need to just do something. It'll make you more energized to do other things. So
yeah, and for prepping, it's really hard to get things wrong too. You know what I mean? Like you may not do enough of one particular thing or whatever, but like it'd be hard to do something that actually hurt your chances. You know what I mean? Like even if you just went, oh, I'm gonna get 500 pairs of boots. Like that might be the best thing to spend your money on, but it's not going to hurt your chances. So it shouldn't be too afraid of just work on balance and figure out things you actually need. But that also leads me to a point, and I think, who was it mentioned it here earlier, Mark Olson, that these people, like we're not even that many months removed from where there were shortages earlier this year. And already we're back to that. And there's people that still haven't like taken that as an impetus to keep a few weeks of toilet paper and these supplies on hand. So I don't know if it's any of the same people finding themselves standing in these lines again. I think you really need to reevaluate your mindset and your refusal to do any sort of preparations and figure out why that's the case.
I think people saw that things were coming back, and so they saw the shortages, they freaked out, and now they saw an abundance of things again, and they're like, oh, everything's cool again, whatever, no big deal. I'm just gonna go on about my life again. But that's. Now we're seeing the shortages again, and so it's a cycle, and it's gonna keep happening. And so I think people just get back into that normalcy bias of everything's okay. So
and their decisions to prep are not based on like just any sort of philosophy of just being prepared. It's based on fear. So it goes away completely. The desire to do it goes away completely when the fear goes away, and then comes rushing back when it shows up again. And I think Denab up here said there's a few of those fear-mongering channels right now. And I've seen some that even have, and it's more than a few, and I've seen some that are just like, they're good content, in each individual video. It's not necessarily badly done. It's not even necessarily false, but you can just look at their hundreds and hundreds of videos of every day being like, oh, we're on the verge of this. And it's like, even making those videos, I would be like just depressed. I don't like to live in that like negative mindset constantly. And I know that that's the stuff that's getting clicks. And there's some that I've seen, I'm not going to mention specifically, where they start off with pretty skill-based stuff, bushcrafting video, and then they just go right into the daily videos about everything that's collapsing around the world. And, maybe they're actually thinking that way, which is even worse. Or maybe they're just doing it for the clicks, which is making other people think that way. But it's it's depressing, and it's honestly not that helpful.
Nail in the coffin. You're absolutely correct. I'm going to go grab another beverage in a second, but I'll leave you with this slide. You're absolutely correct, Derek. And I mean, it's it would be a shame to think that they're doing this maliciously, in that we've got individuals that believe it's all bullshit, but they're creating the fear for the sake of clicks. And it's nothing new in terms of preparedness. And if anything, there's a lot of people out there that it's almost like they feed off of it. They're waiting for that next video that's with the clickbait title, the food shortages, and they're just, listening to these quote unquote conspiracy theory articles with no factual basis, and they eat it up. They love it. And it's, hey, look at, and they call themselves preppers, and they buy food, and that's all they do is they purchase food, and they equate purchasing food to being prepared. Whatever.
Or worse, they just buy ammo and guns and shit, and not even food. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? I guess whoever's got the most guns and ammo at the end of the day can really. I've played this much, said this over and over again, which is I don't care who's in the supermarket. When shit goes down, the person with the gun is in control at the end of the day. But that's a whole other
They're
topic.
good with it.
I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, but it's all the people who there's a lot of people who say that too, like, oh, I'll just go take my food. It's like, you really don't think these people who've been prepping for decades have thought about this? You don't think they also have guns?
Yeah. Not only that, but I don't think that they've actually wrapped their heads around taking somebody else's life or food and things like that. And so it's not exactly as easy as I think they think it is. Now, I know when people get desperate, you know, they will do desperate things and they will probably, you know, take somebody else's life. But as soon as they do that, they're going to realize that
let's say you have a 95% success rate too of robbing people, you know, of their stuff. But that doesn't take too many before you're going to get just blasted in the face.
Right.
Or even just injured or whatever. And I've often thought about having things like a poisoned portion of my food storage just in case someone does get me and I'm like, fuck you, you're dead now.
I think we talked about that too. Preppers talked about painting.
Yeah, you'd have to obviously have everyone in your group know, but yeah, to purposely taint something.
You don't have to tell everybody which ones are poison. They'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. But because I was thinking about that from just a like normal life perspective of having, because I'm here in Vegas obviously, so I was thinking about having some fake casino chips like in my safe or whatever or somewhere that were close enough that you wouldn't be able to tell, but obvious to the people who work at the casinos and whatnot, so that if they got a stack of $100 chips, of course they'd go run them into the casino and get busted. So I was like guaranteed that they'd get caught. I haven't done that yet, but I definitely want to. What I was worried about is if it ever comes out that I have these fake chips, I'm like, no, it was a plan. I wasn't going to use them. I'm not making fake chips. And they're like, sure, buddy.
I just use them for my poker night or, you know, by myself with my girlfriend.
You got a little bit of an off-topic question. Should men get married? This is for prepping. Yeah, when?
I don't know.
I could give you a brief. Well, honestly, I don't think anyone should do or not do anything that doesn't align with their personal values and goals. But in general,
is that the whole? That's just the question. Should men get married?
Yeah, should men get married? But my brief 30 seconds personal stance is that you can easily do it without getting the government involved.
Yeah.
I think that the government version of it is pointless and is fraught with perils depending on. Especially depending on what state you're in and stuff like that. But yeah, you can decide to get married without having to get the government.
No offense. What the fuck kind of question is that?
Yeah, random.
Abstract.
Maybe they're just trying to see if I'm available.
Yeah, maybe, right? It's like, should I buy a Toyota or a Honda? Like, there's nothing to do preparedness. Should men get married?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe they're thinking of it from the standpoint of, from, you know, most marriages are ending in divorce these days, and women are trying to take care from them or whatever.
Right. I'm sure that's
Yeah, that's definitely happening, you know, and I think a lot of people, maybe the track of mind here is, you know, they're going to take my preps, they're going to take my, you know, whatever, they're going to take my...
I want half the rice buckets.
Hey, that's valuable stuff, okay?
Right, I know.
I don't know. I'm just trying to get the benefit of the doubt here, but yeah, like I'm with Eric. Don't do anything you don't want to do. It's not that big.
Hey, I'm just thinking it's a weird fucking question for a prepper channel, you know, live discussion. It's, you know, should men get married? I don't know how that relates to preparedness. For me personally, you know, ironically enough, going through divorce, blah, 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 which was a long time coming. Yeah, I'd say, hell yeah. You find the right person, you fucking go to the end of the road. Why not? You do the right thing, you know, but through the coronavirus or pandemic, I think what a more appropriate question is, should your spouse, and maybe Eric and Morgan, you two can comment on this, should a prepper choose a spouse that's into preparedness?
I think that it's not necessary that they be into it. You know what I mean? It's obviously necessary that they don't be trying to sabotage your goals, or that you have to fight with them along the way. And I know Morgan's talked about stuff like that before. I've done a little bit. It hasn't been an issue for me at all, but I never would be in a relationship with someone that I had to like defend all my decisions and stuff like that constantly against. Just wouldn't work anyway. But yeah, so I mean, it's not necessary that someone really is all into it, and I wouldn't look for that. But you want someone to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. And sometimes I think some people probably go overboard and they mistake their spouse's like resistance to them devoting too much resources and too much energy into something as being like against it, where, you know, they wouldn't necessarily be against you doing things that are to protect your family. But if you're just taking all your money, rent money, to buy more rice and guns and stuff, then yeah, that could cause some problems.
I think that brings it into communication though, because, you know, if you're buying all this stuff and doing all this stuff and your spouse is like, why? And you're just like, because I want to be prepared, you know, get off my back. You know, I mean, that's not cool either, you know, I mean, but you know, I totally agree that your spouse, no matter what.
Is that what you tell your husband? Because I want to. This is my house.
At this point, yes. I'm like, shut up because I want to.
Like the rice? They snuck the extra rice into your cart? You just posted about that.
Yeah, recently we went to the store and I grabbed another bag of rice and he was like, no. And I'm like, what? And he was like, no more rice. And I just like threw it in the cart. And
he was like looking at him while you like put the bag in.
Yeah, it was exactly like that. I was like, don't question the prepper, all right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm the one that's prepping this family that will help us survive the apocalypse, all right? So,
yeah, and earlier this year has to brought every prepper some goodwill, right? And you have like, hey, we got the toilet paper. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
While everyone else is freaking out. I think you should return to the wall, Jay, to flex on everybody with your wall of toilet paper behind you. You'll have to bring that back for next week.
I will. I think women, though, ironically, it's a weird question. Should men get married? It's not should preppers get married, but female preppers have a special power over male preppers in terms of if the spouse isn't in agreement, and you know, if the situation was reversed and I was pushing the cart of rice, the spouse could potentially withdraw something and say, well, you put that rice back, or certain things may not happen. So
see, my response is certain things are going to happen. I hope they happen with you, but if they don't, then no. Okay, message received. They'll happen with somebody else.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, why would it be such a big deal to get those couple extra cans? You know, if your spouse can't even be on board with just like a little bit of extra food or something, you know, like it's kind of a problem, you know, and I don't know, just in general, like, you know, if your spouse can't just like support you in anything that you want to do with preparedness, you know, I want to go fly spaceships. I don't know, whatever you want to do, like your spouse you should have picked I'm sorry, but you should have picked someone that was supportive of you, and you should have known this, you know, long before, whether they would have support you. Like I support my husband in literally anything he wants to do. I don't care. I literally don't care as long as it's, you know.
I definitely agree, but I also, to play the devil's advocate, I see the other side where like for us to be like, oh, you know, it's a few extra cans. If you like, let's be honest, it's thousands of cans, a lot of toilet paper, quite a few dollars. You know what I mean? Like I understand. So I think the impetus is to make sure your preps make sense, you know, and that it's there is balance. You're not dipping into the retirement funds and all this stuff for certain things. So start and be able to, because if you can't explain it to your significant others, that means you don't really have a good grasp on it yourself either. You should be able to make a pretty good case for why you're doing what you're doing, why you're getting the specific things in the specific quantities. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't really understand how much it takes to feed a single person, let alone a family, for a month. You know, like I always talk about that movie, zombie movie, but he finds a cooler about this big, like a little igloo with some canned goods in it. And he's like, this is at least 3 months worth of food in here. And I'm like, you're lucky if that'd be 3 days worth of food. And like, I've done videos before where I stack this stuff out and be like, this is like a day's worth of calories for one person. You know what I mean? So stuff like that doesn't seem like so much when you realize what, you know, and then you see obviously the stuff that's happening in the world right now to explain why.
Morgan, you've seen the show a couple times. We have a regular segment. We're overdue for it by 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And you've probably got a meme or two on your computer. Did you prepare? I want me to put you on the spot. Do you have any memes that you'd like to share with us this evening?
So I thought about it before I came on. I am not prepared. I don't.
You should get that. There's a cut
Yeah,
right there.
There's a cut. I am not prepared.
I'm not prepared.
I was actually thinking of it. It was like 5 minutes before the show. I was like, oh no, I need memes. I've been playing with my children all day. I'm very sorry. I couldn't get the memes. You know,
To be fair, we didn't. It was one email earlier last week or this week. Said, Morgan, hey, we're doing the show. Do you want to join us? And she's like, yes. And that was it. So I didn't give her any warning to say we're going to ask for memes from you. So to be fair, but maybe next time I'll put that in the email message because it'd be great to see. You know, I don't want to look at Eric's crap. I'm just Eric.
Yeah. I wouldn't have any either, honestly, if people hadn't been sending me a few in the
Are
email.
they still sending you some?
I've got a few, yeah. I have one or two of my own. One's fairly spicy, so we'll see if I get blocked.
Okay.
But I've got 8. I've only got 8 this time, not like 30. So
not like 30. Okay, good.
all right. So you guys ready?
ready.
All right. So we'll start with this one. Says this New York Times says women are better at fighting COVID-19. The doctors are giving men estrogen patches. so the guy says, by Allah, you people are dogs. I will go on as usual as he makes a protein shake. And then we got the timeline. Did you guys see the barbecue beer freedom shirt? This was here in Nevada.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's funny. So that's where we're at right now in the timeline. Then we got concede, no. And then we have Epstein voted.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then this was funny. This actually happened. This is a verbatim quote where they said, are you not engaging it's like, will there be a smooth transition? And he says, yes, there will be a smooth transition to the second Trump administration. And they were all like, oh my God. Then we have, how is Hunter Biden like a Dominion voting machine? Both of them give 10% to the big guy. And then come and take it now includes Thanksgiving dinner because they're trying to wipe that off too.
It's a good one.
Then we have public trust in Fox News is lower than gas station sushi. And then this one I thought was hilarious, but it's kind of a little bit spicy, like I was saying. So it's how to inform an officer you are exempt from the mandatory vaccine. I'm just like blasting him. I like the reason I liked it is because he just has this polite look on his face. He's like, no, thank you. Bland. So that's all I got from memes today.
Pretty good.
Good one.
Okay. Shall I load up this? I don't know. Maybe there's a tech out there. I know a couple things about computers, but every time I log in, I can't do it through my phone because it's complicated. I do it through a second account. And this weird buzzy sound happens over at least I hear it. I don't know if you guys do.
I hear it for sure.
Yeah, so I apologize. So I'm gonna try and bang through my memes quickly and open up this other window here. Open link. The sound's gonna be funky for a second. Once it actually happens here. Goddamn Zoom. Seems to be the standard, isn't it? Like there's no other video platform that shares windows like this. Doesn't Microsoft have something?
Yeah, I think Google. I mean, you have like Skype and other different. There's definitely other programs, which is interesting that Zoom instantly took over, but it seems to work.
All right. This huge production leading up to my shitty memes. I can never compete with. I don't know why. I just thought this funny, but Lionel Richie is the photo I got here. Somebody had done Lionel Richie with that.
Yeah, it looks creepy.
What
and,
is?
It's still Sly Stallone's face on Guy Ritchie.
So yeah, you know Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
It's Sylvester Stallone's face on top of Lionel Richie's.
No.
It makes him look like Kaliba from the first original Clash of the Titans guy.
Yeah, this is an actual
music for
album.
washing and ironing. That's awesome.
Yes.
Simpler times.
Wow.
We talked about this last week with Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses and the debate on whether or not he's
if he looks like the if he looks like
and,
Wes's boy toy.
Yeah, in Mad Max. But I don't know why you would want to put that on his resume. It looks like him.
It does look like him. Yeah.
It looks a
So
lot like
Agree.
But at the same
Definitely.
time, I can understand, why would you want to say, hey, yeah, I was, well, you're an actor? Who were you? Who were
Yeah,
you?
well, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I was the bitch.
Not nothing
I
you've
was the guy
seen.
that-
Yeah, it's like your resume is wasteland bitch or something.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, that's all I got. It's
Not too
Eric,
bad.
you win every week, buddy.
Like I said, I got guys supplying me, so
Yeah, I guess.
I don't even think I got them all. I think because they come in email and I have to like drag them off. So I think I missed a few, but those are the best ones I think. So keep sending them, guys. I appreciate it. And if I
What's
miss
the
some,
email?
sorry.
Where do they send them to?
I just rulewasteland@gmail.com. It's the easiest way to do it.
There we go.
Keep
People
us
want to reach
supplied.
you, Morgan?
Give me some of those
How can they
tasty
reach?
memes.
How can they reach you, Morgan, if they've got a question specific to preparedness? There's a lot of female viewers, especially in the recent last couple of months, that have joined my network. If maybe they want to get a female perspective on something. How can people reach you if they've got a question for you?
either at my Morgan at preparedness.com is probably the easiest, or really any social media channel. I don't care. You can message me there. I don't care. It's fine.
Your next video should be how to get an extra bag of rice in the cart when your husband's watching.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be quite helpful to many
Yeah.
people, apparently.
Mark Olson says, who here will take the vaccine? I think we get this question every time and we always have the same answer. But let me just ask you, yeah, right? What do you think? What do you think I would do if someone tries to stick me with something I didn't ask for?
Well, what was that they were forcing vaccine, that they were saying you had to
For one of the concert venues like Ticketmaster or something,
Oh, really?
saying that
I didn't hear that.
they
What
had
happened?
threatened basically to say that they were going to make all their concerts, you had to prove that you've been vaccinated to attend or something like that.
Yes.
So, and then Fauci came out and said that even with the vaccine, everyone should still have to wear masks and lockdowns. So
Yeah,
what the fuck is the point of any of this then?
There is no point.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first vaccine, it was still only going to be 90% effective to a 99 point, percent.
And that's what their claims are for this rushed vaccine.
It is really
like
rushed.
I said, yeah, super rushed. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think the best bet would be to, if you really didn't want to make a stand about it, is to try and get some sort of proof that you were vaccinated, just so you could have it and not have to.
That would be a hot market too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of anti-vaxxers out there. You got all these people that are, they're playing this like it's some sort of alien conspiracy theory. There's a good portion of the population that are never going to get vaccinated. What kind of ticket, if I could give you, give me $1,000 and
you go to the Walgreens lady who's supposed to give it to you and be like, how about you just squirt that on the ground right there, and then here's $500 to give me the paper.
There's an underground market there, exactly.
Or you can find someone who gets vaccinated for a living, just give him an ID, and go get 1,000 COVID vaccines and say he's you. And he ends up looking like sloth. Gets one every week for a different person. Professional vaccine taker.
Wow. You should get like a dummy arm.
Yeah, like a fake arm, and you're like, no, this side. It's like it's like foam.
I hate to say this, but if you were an amputee, then you could potentially make a lot of money getting fake vaccines, right?
Yeah, the fake vaccine.
The fake arm.
Yeah.
I think the best bet is to get the pharmacy assistant or whoever is giving you it'd probably just be a nurse, I'm guessing, an RN. They could use an extra $1,000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good point.
And then once you get one in, then you tell them like, hey, it's $100 now, or I'm going to tell on you. So then now they're stuck. Because what are they going to lose their license if they got out? So now then you sell, or you say it's $200 now, but to everyone else is $1,000. You say, I know who's going to get this. Give me $1,000. Now I think I'm giving away too much information here. Sorry, I can't stop thinking about how to find loopholes and things. That's the way
definitely though.
This is all hypothetical, of course. I've been vaccinated more than anyone. I mean, shit. I was in the army, so I got my fair share of crappy, untested vaccines. But I don't plan on taking any more.
I didn't realize. Did you say Elephant Man with the guy getting the vaccine?
Yeah, he ends up like, ooh. Or like that mask for the guy with a big stretched out face.
Yeah, no, somebody said elephant man here. I didn't realize you said that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, I said sloth. I said sloth, but from the
there you go.
Goonies. But yeah, same
Yeah.
thing. Elephant man seemed better.
Yeah, we'll definitely see that too. Like the funny thing, we're laughing about it now, but it would be a legitimate business. Like this, there's going to be these underground dark markets to get your vaccine pass. Because people are just going to want to. They're going to say, "Fuck the system. I don't want to be a part of this." But I want to drive my car,
or I want to go to a concert, or just to go to school. Have my kid go to school or whatever. So.
I want to buy groceries.
Yeah, who knows how bad it would
buy
get.
an extra bag of rice.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So it could get weird. Could get weird.
Anti-vaxxers, hate speech. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're wrapping up shortly. A lot of fun as always. If you do have any questions, please place them in all caps. We've got Morgan from Rogue Preparedness here. If you've got a question for her, please, all caps. And Morgan, how would you like to steer the conversation? We didn't actually ask you this question. Vaccine comes out, they're going to take away your license unless some states will probably do this. They'll go to that extreme. They'll say you cannot drive, you cannot fly, you cannot do this unless you have this piece of paper. I see that happening personally, and I don't think that's too far fetched from a reality. Where in line would you be for getting a vaccine, or if at all, would you get one? Would you go underground and connect with Eric and be like, okay, do you really know a pharmacist?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I have a question. Who's going to stop me from driving?
Are you asking me? I think the government would
stop me from driving. Like, unless they literally stop me, and then I'll just be like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like,
I don't. For the record, I don't think it'll get that bad to where like you can't have a driver's license or anything like that. No. Hopefully, there could be companies and stuff that do it, but even then, like, are they really gonna? I don't know. I think that's just virtue signaling for the most part. I think there would be like HIPAA issues with that, equal protection under the law type problems, because there's some people who are legitimately allergic to it and stuff like that. And then having to hand over sensitive medical information to some random ticket counter. I mean, that just seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
But who knows? Everyone's so crazy with this. That's the one thing I've underestimated. Was I knew people react with fear to things, but even now, when it's so obvious that this disease is just not that deadly, how afraid people, like none of this stuff would work if there wasn't a large subset of the population that basically is okay with these restrictions, that wants them, that people like that come and yell at you who, when you're outside in a park in the, working out in the sun and don't have a mask on, people still yell at you and stuff. There's this guy on Twitter that I was following that lives out here in Vegas, and he was saying like 5 or 6 times he's been working out in a park outside in a park, and people would like carrying him basically about the mask, not wearing a mask. And to put that in perspective, that's not even against the rules. Specifically, the mask mandate when it came out said you don't have to wear them when jogging or exercising or doing outdoor activities. So these people are going above and beyond even what the stupid restrictions the state has placed on them just because of their fear. Scary, very scary.
It is scary.
The plausibility of a government, maybe it was an extreme example to suggest that your license expires, and if you go back in to get it renewed, they say, well, you need some sort of paper to suggest to verify you've been vaccinated. However, I could see, maybe not as an extreme example, being put into place through the Canadian and or American government. Not as extreme, but I don't think it's going to be like they're going to come out with the vaccine and be like, well, if you want to get it, get it. If you don't want it, that's okay. Irrespective, we have a question from Brian Hickingbottom, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think state governments, it was a comment. There was a question here, right?
Yeah, he said, I think state governors will resist some of this if it comes from the federal government. And yeah, luckily, I think so. We'll see a little bit of that, where we see Florida's doing a pretty good job. And they're actually about to like expand stand your ground laws to include looters, which is awesome. That's giving everybody a good freak out. So DeSantis has been doing pretty good there. And I think like the is it South Dakota governor, Noam? She's been pretty good on the mask stuff too, I think. And I don't think she would stand for it.
Michigan's just
Michigan's garbage.
I know a couple people from Michigan, and they're just like, I'm like, get out of there, man.
Yeah.
Escape from, that'll be the next Snake Plissken movie. Escape from New York,
Escape
escape
from
from LA,
Michigan.
escape from Michigan.
Vaccine pass.
Alkmen Tyrateus. I can't pronounce that correctly. My apologies if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Alkmen, to our panel, how do you war game worst case scenarios? How do you war game worst case scenarios?
I don't normally. You know what I mean? I will think about that stuff as just a thought experiments most of the time, and that's where my mind goes. But I don't try to, strictly speaking, prepare for these really kind of extreme worst case scenarios for a couple reasons. It's really difficult to adequately prepare for something that crazy, or that not crazy like insane, but that extreme. And also, for the most part, the things you do to prepare for anything will serve you very well for those situations too. You know, so if you think about the type of stuff that you need, like security, hygiene and medicine, food, shelter, all that stuff, like that's the things you're going to need no matter what happens. The specifics of like a nuclear event would obviously be different than like a massive financial collapse or a foreign invasion. So, you know, I give thought to some of those things to see if there's any gaps. You know, like if you have like the radioactive iodine stuff for a nuclear event, but I don't specifically speak and try to war game for exactly what I would do, because if you have that stuff, you're going to be good. If you have a bug out plan, you know, a shelter in place plan, all your prep, like that stuff, you're going to be able to find out what of that you need for that scenario. And it's going to be the same things for a lot of these different disasters.
Morgan, care to comment or pass? We should have a free pass card. Just like, I don't like the question, pass.
No, I'll never pass. So the I do what if scenarios in my head a lot. Sometimes I'll actually write it out just because for me, I'll like it just helps me understand something a little bit better if I can write it out instead of keeping it in my head. But you know, that's only for like really, really extreme kind of scenarios. But I'm always constantly doing kind of what ifs, like, you know, just out and about or whatever. But for like extreme scenarios and things, you know, you have your basic plans, which will always change, you know, based on the scenario. And so you have to know how to move and flow with that situation. But Conflicted, the card games actually are pretty good. They have some wild, extreme scenarios that you would never think of. And it actually gets you thinking. And I really like those card games. Like, you know, some of these things seem so wild. You're like, this would never happen. Yeah. But you still think about it and get an answer. And, you know, you actually have to come to terms with some of these answers that you're saying because the scenarios are so wild. Yeah, I think
tap dances a lot on the that fine edge of ethical morality of what do you do? Maybe for the audience, you can elaborate on the conflicted. What is the conflicted card game for people that don't know or haven't heard of it before?
The conflicted card game, I don't know how many decks they have. I think like 20 or something. They have a lot, maybe not 20, but they have a lot. And they're all different like themes. Like I have just like the basic, their first one that they came out with. And then I have one that was put out from Southern Prepper 1. And then I have one about... Anyway, I have another. I was trying to think of the actual scenario. I think it's pandemic.
Okay, sure. Give us the scenario. Sure.
I don't have the cards. I am not prepared again. Okay.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, I've done a live stream about the Conflicted actually, and we played a little bit. And me and the audience, I read a question, and then we all answered it together. They're very interesting. I would highly recommend getting like, you know, one or two. They're scenario based usually, or by person. So like, you know, like that Southern Prepper 1, he did a bunch of questions, you know, based on his knowledge or whatever. And so yeah, they're very cool. I like them.
Here we got a couple comments. Sorry. One, I promised them I'd get to it in a minute, but someone says that way cuter than JJ. I can only assume they're referring to me and Shay.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, and then Daniel Bailey had asked earlier about a trucker strike, thoughts on trucker strike. For those of you guys haven't heard of this, it's a United States thing, I'm not mistaken. And I think it's mostly related to independent truckers, where basically, and I believe it's related to the election fraudulence, that they're committing, at least some of them, to go on strike. I believe November 29th is the date that I've heard. Is that, you guys heard anything about that? Yeah. So obviously the extent to which that causes any disruptions depends on exactly how many people participate in this. But I mean, if even a significant subset of truckers, like 10 to 25%, seriously just stop doing anything for a few days, that could cause a lot of short and medium term shortages for sure. So since the topic of this thing was shortages, that would definitely come into play. But like we've been saying, it doesn't really change anything. It won't cause any unique or new problems. It would just cause shortages. So I think you should be ready for that.
Yep.
That's my thoughts on it. Depends on what these people are trucking. I don't think that like committed drivers for companies like Walmart and stuff like that would be doing it because they would just get fired, I think. But any independent ones that decide to do that could still have a big impact.
Yeah, I think like you said, it really depends on what they're trucking. But I mean, any disruption in the supply chain is obviously could be happening for any reason, not just a strike. I mean, a natural disaster or people getting sick. I mean, whatever. Like it could literally happen for any reason. So yeah, it doesn't really change. Just keep prepping.
Right. Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. But I'm not anticipating that there'll be enough people doing that to have a massive impact. Probably depend on regional and whatever industries they happen to be working for to do, but it could be noticeable for sure. There's no way to know.
Yeah.
One of those oddball sort of things that, could it, should it, may happen, may not happen. It doesn't change the main game, the main road, or the main rationality or reason to prep. It's just, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. But historically, we've seen shitty things happen to good people that weren't prepared. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about just getting your basic preps. It doesn't mean you need to be polishing your shotgun in your bunker, but just
if you want to, that's cool.
Right.
That's cool. Just like if you want an extra bag of rice every time you go out.
And what's also interesting to me is the way all these events, because we've heard about stuff like this for years, if you're following prepper related news, some of it pans out, some of it doesn't. But what's interesting to me is how simultaneously sensitive and fragile the system can be to disruptions, but how resilient it is in like when it comes to total shutdown. You know what I mean? Like and what I've explained before too is everyone has a vested interest in the system not collapsing. So it's very rare that everyone just stops doing whatever it is that they're doing and the whole thing just goes away. And that's one of the things. I don't know if you guys have read the book Patriots by James Wesley Rawls. It's kind of like prepper porn, and I've read it multiple times. I don't even know if I'd call it good, but it's entertaining, and I like it. Hits the spot in terms of prepper stuff. But one of the things I don't like about the scenario is that in the beginning, when the financial collapse stuff starts happening, everyone just kind of leaves the cities and basically just everything shuts down. And I don't think that would happen because no one is prepared for that sort of thing. No one can, as percentage-wise, almost no one can really just not get resources and not work for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? They just don't have a choice. They would have to keep going to work and have to try to keep farming or going to wherever it was that they were going, simply because they can't just go sit at their house for 2 months. They don't have the resources.
Yeah. I've been hearing every prepper ever saying, get out of the cities now, just go. And I'm like, well, that's really easy to say. I mean, gosh, if everybody could do that, I think they would, right? I mean, gosh.
Maybe some people don't even want to, they don't really honestly don't want to. And if they did, they can't. So
yeah.
Just like with the pandemic, like a lot of people who probably wanted to early on stay home and figure out what's going on still had to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes a lot for everything really to shut down completely, but it doesn't take much to cause noticeable disruptions, so it's kind of a weird bifurcation.
Shortages, and we've been seeing that stuff already, with like with tin, being short, just these little things, have just been like, say a little, but I mean, some of it's have a dramatic effect, and some of it's because of hoarding, and some of it is, because of a supply chain disruption. So, again, doesn't change anything. Just,
keep going.
Definitely huge. One factor that's into play in terms of just going into the woods or leaving the city is the psychological attachment that even some preppers might have too, with sentimental value or items, or even like a home where you live. It's very difficult to just get up and leave a place that you call home with the amount of investment that you have, in addition to the logistics and dynamics of, maybe some kids are in college and some of the family members aren't on board necessarily, spread out throughout the city. There's multitudes of different logistics that have to be figured out.
Yeah, and like white space Marines here just said, all they would have to do is shut off electricity to kill most of us off. And I've said that before, that I do think the one thing that would either prevent or cause a real widespread shit hit the fan event would be a widespread long-term grid down, because people are not ready for that. And it wouldn't matter what situation they're in. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't even do a lot of modern farming or anything without electricity. So there's a lot that it would take to do that. But if that happened, that would for sure be, whether it was an attack, an EMP, whatever. If there was widespread grid down, that would for sure be pretty much major shit.
I don't know if it was the former CIA director Wolseley or maybe it was Jerry Emanuelson from Use an EMP. He's a science at futurescience.com. He knows more about EMPs than anybody that I know. Or the guy that wrote 1 Second After.
Forston, William Forston.
Yeah, it was one of those three guys, and I believe what they have to say to a T, because they're it's not somebody just spinning bullshit on YouTube saying, hey, it's coming in the future, it's gonna happen, just buckle up. These are credible individuals that have done the research and know what the fuck they're talking about. And maybe I'll try and get this for next week, but they basically said if we had an EMP, 90% of the population will be dead within 1 year.
I agree with that.
That was out of a doubt.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think anything that would cause widespread grid down, even if it didn't fry all other electronics, I mean, that's like a worst case scenario, because even the stuff that you would, with batteries and stuff, would still be, or that you could run off gas, like a generator, would still be probably cooked on an EMP. But even if it was just the power went out and everything else, the grid power was down, if it was widespread through the whole country, so many people would not be able to survive that.
Yeah. I mean, think about just the logistics of trying to get that back up. It would take a lot of time, and people wouldn't, yeah. It really, yeah. It would be bad.
People will be, there's one thing that I referenced, and I probably said this on the Trifecta before, Eric, so I'll apologize.
No worries.
But they did this test back when we had flip phones. So I guess we're all old enough here to know that you had these phones.
Just outed me as being old.
And you had to type like the number 1 2 times to get the letter B. You remember that?
Yeah.
Cycle through the
Yeah.
Major university did this test. Social media came out. They had Facebook, but it didn't evolve to the point where we had smartphones to really connect with. There was no such thing as an app. People it was painstakingly slow to do anything on a cell phone.
You could barely send nudes even back then.
Like
the dark ages.
Yeah, I know. You could barely send in like pics of you drunk. It's like,
just be like dark and like, what is this?
Yeah, I had to mail those photos back.
Exactly. Glossy 8x10. Black and white, of course. It's more tasteful that way.
They did this study, this psychological department, this university did this study that my whole point is the social media had already infected the brains of people. People were obsessed going to the library and getting on computers to upload photos of their genitals. And what the psychological department decided to do is cut internet access in a very specific way. They removed all social media from their not the ISP, but the basically everybody had internet except for certain types of social media. And what they found is some students, as a result of not having access to it, started to exhibit symptoms consistent with, because they did a study and said, well, this has happened. How do you feel? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And they found that students started to exhibit the similar symptoms as having withdrawal from heroin in some cases. So in my mind, to complement what Eric was suggesting with respect to an EMP or some sort of long-term blackout effect, we have to think about the effects psychologically. Well, I don't have to think about it, but a majority of the population is going to have a very, very rude awakening if we've got a segment of the population that is upset that they can't access Facebook for a few days and they're freaking out over that. That's
yeah. Imagine if you take everything else at the same time. Yeah. And not only that, but the mental thing will be hitting them at the same time that a lot of these people who are, you know, especially if they're 10 or 15 years younger than us, but even some that have just adapted to it now, they literally don't and probably don't know how to do any of these things without the internet. Everything from communication to buying for things to paying things to certainly making their way around, navigating. They've never done any of this stuff without not only electricity, but with full-time internet access, like live information. So they would be completely lost. Like they don't even know, like, and I'm bad about this now, but how many phone numbers do you even know? Like actually know, you know what I mean? I maybe know two, you know? So without your phone sitting there, could you even use another person's phone, you know? Be rough, or like a landline if they're out there anywhere.
Yeah, the payphones.
Yeah.
They're there.
They're few and far between now, though.
Yeah,
I haven't seen too many payphones.
I haven't seen one in years. Have you seen one? They still got them in Arizona or LA or LA?
There's a couple defunct ones in the casinos that don't look like they're hooked up. I doubt they have a service, but they're still sitting there.
Imagine, talk about infection. We're all paranoid about washing our hands, keeping clean.
Yeah.
About the infection of people putting this device without even thinking about up to their ears. They're rubbing this earwax, you know, telephone, payphone.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem we face, some of the biggest problems we face are mental and physical abilities, or, you know.
Is there anything you do specifically in terms of preps, Morgan, and for physical, psychological preps, or something you can maybe give to the audience, some sort of advice? Is there a little thing that you do daily, like meditation, or you go for a walk, clear your mind, that maybe you want to suggest to the audience that they could possibly look at?
Yeah. So I really do think that it's very, very important to get away from your device. Like I honestly had a rude awakening myself, not rude awakening, but a mindfulness moment recently in which I was spending way too much time on my phone. And I was like, this is absurd. What am I doing? And I'm just like looking at Twitter or like.
I'm bad about that.
Yeah. It's just these mindless activities. And I'm over here like, you know, I'll put my phone down and I'm staring at my children. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, you know, this whole world, I got all this stuff to do. And like, so honestly, be really, really mindful of your phone. I know it's hard, you know, I mean, I'm trying to stay up to date with everything that's going on and all this stuff, but it's just, sometimes you just need to let go for, you know, just like an hour or two or whatever. Like I've actually put a kind of house rule, like, you know, no phones, you know, while we're eating, no phones, you know, an hour before putting the kids to bed, you know, no phones, you know, first thing in the morning, that kind of thing. It really helps actually. And even, you know, just those like 1 or 2 hours a day of just not even looking at the phone, I feel so much better. Like, I'm just like, I don't care. I just don't care what notifications are coming in. I don't care what people are saying. And so, but, you know, I can always come back later to it. It's not, you know, it's not that big a deal. And so, also I do definitely go out for walks regularly. You know, I have 2 kids that, die to go outside every day. And so they really get me out, but, they, you know, getting outside, even just walking around your block or whatever, it's, you know, it's not a big deal. Don't make a big deal about this stuff. Like it just go for a little walk, just go, you know, just do really simple things. It's, you know, a lot of people are like, well, I have to have a gym membership. Well, I have to have a home gym and I have to do this. And no, you don't. Not at all.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm pretty bad with my internet addiction, and not to the point like you were talking about, like when I don't have it, it doesn't seem to really affect me, but like if it's there, like with the phone, it's really hard to avoid just like, oh, seeing what the new thing is. And some people go on like what they call dopamine fast, like, because that's what's happening in your brain. You get this little fix of dopamine from the new bit of information, and that mixed with whatever FOMO or fear of missing out is latent in there. Like, I gotta see the new stuff. Then, so for me, it's not too bad when it's not there. You know, I'll just be like, oh, like when I like going camping and stuff, you don't have cell service. It wasn't really a big deal. But when it's there, like during dinner or when I wake up, like I'm always looking at the phone. So I probably need to work on that. But I'm not good at meditating. My body is like too loud. I can't do it. Like I have too much just like pain and stuff that I can't sit still. It's easier for me to do something that like takes up about some sort of movement and maybe like 25% of my brain kills the background noise, and then I can actually think. So as much as I hate running, that's more meditative for me than just sitting and like I couldn't just do that, like sit still. I wouldn't be able to think properly. But
for real though, like anything could be meditation. Like I do archery. I think that's my meditation. You know, anything can be meditation. It doesn't have to be just sitting there, you know, smelling your own breath. It's just
exactly, yeah. It's like the classic meditation. Just
like, yeah. It doesn't have
something that takes up a little bit of my brain power is more meditative, because then you can actually just like think a little bit. That's how it works with me. Maybe I'm crazy on that.
Fair. Well, you know, I've dabbled in meditation, yoga, martial arts, various things. I think even with archery too, I think we can suggest that you're disconnecting from a device, or conclude anyways, in my opinion, you're disconnecting from the system, we'll say, and you're in your own mind in doing something that's skillful and productive. If it's yoga's fantastic, actually. Because I've been, working out, it's great. I don't know if Eric's into it, because I know he works out as well, but I'm telling you, man, like just a couple times a week, take my daughter out, back pre-COVID times, and it's funny how you can do something physically and how that transcends to being stress-free psychologically if you're doing archery a couple times a week, or going out for a walk in nature a couple times a week, how that reflects psychologically. You feel much better. So this is almost like a record time. Morgan, is this the longest trifecta ever?
I think we've gone past an hour and a half before, but it's rare for sure.
Rare.
Wow.
So
we're having a good time.
Then what goes quick when you have good guests.
And good advice too, by the way.
Thank you for joining us, as always. Guys, if you have not yet subscribed to Morgan's channel, go check it out. It's Rogue Preparedness. And the website too is just roguepreparedness.com, right?
Yep.
Easy to find. So I know she's got free prepping guides and stuff on there too, as well as some things you can buy. So check it out. And hopefully he'll be back relatively soon. We try to email you. You've pretty much 100% attendance when we give you more than a day or two's notice, or more than 15 minutes notice. So
yeah,
I know a few times they've been like, "Hey, we're going live in 20 minutes if you want to come on," and you're just like,
"Yeah, no kidding, eh?" Hey, we got no guests.
Stuff. I have 2 kids. I put them to bed around the same time that this comes on, and so I gotta just know this so I can just tell, and because otherwise I'm in the routine of getting kids to bed by the time you guys email.
It's my fault too. It's like Sunday. Fuck, I wanted to stare at Eric's face for an hour. Morgan, are you free? Cool. So, but no, it's always a blast to get your perspective, Morgan. I appreciate it, and great advice, and always a pleasure to have you on. Love to have you on again sometime. roguepreparedness.com. Thanks everyone. I'm Jay, Prepper Logic. You can find me through the Ontario Prepper Survival Network, ontariopreppers.ca, or just Google Prepper Logic. And if you want to contact me directly, info@ontariopreppers.ca. Eric, Morgan.
Yep, you're already on my channel, so you're already on my channel, so you know how to find me. Just check out rulethewasteland.com. Get the survival. They're actually the fishing kits. I had to make them more expensive on Amazon, but they're cheaper on my website. So check those out. And thanks for watching, guys. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.